everybody, welcome to PC Perspective. I'm Ryan Shrout, joined today by a longtime friend of PC Perspective of me, Untitled Chapter.
Thank you for having me.
Which I read here, Senior Manager Technical Marketing.
Blah, blah. Yeah, I'm here for Radeon and FreeSync, basically.
Okay.
So
Untitled is from AMD. He's going to join us as advertised. We're going to talk about FreeSync. We're going to talk about new HDR goodness, TV goodness. We have some hardware to give away. We'll give you the URL to do that in a little bit. Not yet, but we'll give you the URL for that. We're going to give away. We have one FreeSync monitor and a FreeSync monitor graphics card combo, which is pretty good.
Pretty cool.
It's like $800-900 worth of. I think it might be a little more than that if you look at actual selling prices
items
today.
Combined are probably more than that.
Yeah. So pay attention for that. We'll have a contest and all the ways you can enter for that as we go. So let's just dive into this here. What the heck are you doing here? What are we here for?
I think this is long overdue. My quest at AMD is really about raising the awareness for variable refresh, and with that to FreeSync.
Yeah.
I think the general awareness of variable refresh, even amongst gamers, is not where I would like to see it. And so we have to do a lot of work to educate people and talk about it and talk about it and talk about it. But the other piece is show it.
Yeah.
I think FreeSync is one of those technologies like VR. You can talk, but if you don't show it to people, they'll be like, okay, whatever. But when they sit down and they try it, it's like, now it makes sense.
Yeah, but your problem is that you have to show it to people.
Yes.
Like we can do a live stream here. We're going to talk about FreeSync. We're going to talk about all the places that you have FreeSync integrated and the products that integrate it. But much like VR, much like 3D TVs, VRR is something that you have to experience to really understand the difference, because PC gamers and gamers in general are just used to this VSync on, VSync off world.
Yeah.
And over the last couple of years, that's changed.
Yeah. They got used to, the options have changed. I think still a lot of people think and are unaware of variable refresh rate, and they just game on their 1080-60 monitor.
Yeah.
And when they sit down in front of a high refresh, variable refresh monitor, they're like, I had no idea.
Yeah.
And we have that constantly when we go to PAX, PDX LAN. We're probably going to go to Gamescom and show people how it is. They're like, wow, that's amazing. I won't ever go back to how it was before.
I think HDR is going to be the same way.
I agree.
It's not something that we can show you. We can't create a stream and show you HDR easily now. But if you don't have an HDR display on the other end, it doesn't matter. In which case, you already converted, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I would love to have a universe where everybody has an HDR TV and a monitor at home, and so whatever content they consume is going to match their display.
Displays are funny like that. The high refresh rate, high resolution, like the movement of to 4K is hard to demonstrate to somebody, if you're on there too. Yeah. So let's go a little bit into where Radeon is, where FreeSync is. We were talking before the stream about what we were going to detail through here, about the momentum that you guys feel you have, and show a couple of slides along the way.
Yeah, I love to show people this picture because Radeon is everywhere. Sounds like a catchy marketing tagline.
Sure.
But what it really is, it is demonstrated now that basically every type of graphics compute device, AMD and Radeon is in it. Whether you're gaming on your desktop PC or laptop, just recently at Computex and at an E3, Acer unveiled their new Predator Helius 500 laptop, which has a Ryzen basically desktop processor plus a Radeon RX Vegas 56 and a FreeSync panel. Yeah. So whether you're on your desktop, whether you're on your laptop, you have Radeon in front of you. We're powering most of the Apple Mac devices with graphics. And just recently, a couple of months ago, now Intel is a partner. We have supplied graphics to them as well.
That was a very surprising move for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit earth-shattering for some of us as well. See these two guys working together. But it's it. Even if it's not, I don't know anything about the market size necessarily and how many units they're going to ship. But from a branding, marketing, a validation perspective, that's got to be a pretty good win.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Right.
Unfortunately, because it's semi-custom stuff, I can't really talk about it. But
so tell me all the details about the GPU that they integrated.
Exactly.
Into
let's go. It has 900,000 CUs and 5 terahertz of.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah.
That's finally. So as we go through here, that slide kind of shows it pretty well. It's nice. You've got partnerships with Alienware and HP, Intel. You got the consoles, of course.
Yeah, we're still continue to power the PS4, PS4 Pro, Xbox One family.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But what we're really here for is FreeSync.
Right.
I mean, I don't believe that anybody on the stream is not aware of what FreeSync is. For anybody who is not, it is AMD's technology for variable refresh rate.
Yeah.
It allows to sync up the monitor's refresh rate to your GPU frame rate.
Yeah.
And let's not dive more into that because
I think what I will say from my own perspective is the variable refresh. I said this when NVIDIA and you were talking about this. This was, in my mind, one of the more important display changes to occur since I've been covering this, right? And I was around from CRTs and 2048 by 1536 and 4:3 to 16:9 to widescreen and all this. And we just lived with vertical sync tearing forever, and it was just kind of assumed that this is how we were going to live our life until the end of days.
I think PC gamers got totally used to it.
Yeah,
I got used to it before it, and I was like, that's
this is how you have. This is how you play games. This is how it has to be. Yeah. So yes, I think if people are on this stream and they know about this, I assume at this point. If not, there's plenty of content out there, both from us and others, that cover what FreeSync is, how it works, how it's integrated, and it's a great way to get you, as you say here, like stuttering, tearing within these ranges are essentially gone. So that's good stuff. Yeah,
I mean, we can skip this because we just covered
kind of
this.
just talked about it. Yeah,
but it's really easy to get into the FreeSync ecosystem. The reason why it's so easy is because most Radeon GPUs, in fact, all the currently shipping GPUs support FreeSync. Not only that, but most of the CPU with graphics integration products from AMD, for example, the latest Ryzen CPUs with Vega graphics all support FreeSync.
Okay.
So if you have one of those products, you're ready. You download the Radeon software, which is obviously free from our website.
Right.
And then you can choose one of the 250 plus displays that is shipping now. We are incredibly happy with the adoption rate of FreeSync. It has really exploded in the last couple of years. And I think that's because we chose to do it with an industry body standard, which is VESA DisplayPort Adaptive Sync.
Right.
And that allowed the freedom for display vendors to do everything else on their own, to design the product as they see fit, within the criteria of, okay, if you want the FreeSync, if you want to be in the FreeSync ecosystem, you have to conform within a couple of things that we test for, certify for, but otherwise you're free to do as you like with the rest of the attributes of the monitor.
Right. And you may not want to say it, but I'll say it, like the competitive solution in G-Sync is definitely more restrictive in panel selection and specific requirements. And I would say as a consumer and as a reviewer, somebody who's been covering this field for a long time, there are pros and cons to both of these directions, right? I think, being able to have 250 displays out there supporting FreeSync is awesome, right? And it's well above what the G-Sync alternatives are. And because of that, you can have huge ranges of price, right? You have, I don't know.
It starts around $130 on Amazon, and you can go up to all the way to 1,000 plus.
Right. And that's what, if you look at the biggest, some of the biggest proponents of FreeSync, it is the fact that they can get into that ecosystem for less investment.
Yes.
Whether it be on the GPU or the monitor or both, or however you want to look at it.
It's the freedom of choice. If you like, if you have a 560, you're probably not going to spend $800 on a monitor because you don't.
I would recommend you not.
Yeah, probably. It's not a good idea.
Yeah.
But the display vendors have products for that kind of GPU.
Yeah.
There's $130. I think is it a ViewSonic monitor? I think.
I don't know.
The range is not huge.
Sure.
But if you play a set of games, you can easily tweak the settings so you're within that FreeSync zone.
Got it.
But you can get to, and we talk about LFC later, with the wider ranges of monitors for probably another $100, and you're still below the lowest price of the competition. I don't want to talk about the competition, but in this regard, it's important to note that freedom of choice for FreeSync is very important if you're looking for vanilla 1080p solution, we got it. If you want a cool, curved, ultra-wide 1440p, we got it. And Samsung just launched not just a couple of months ago, launched the CSG90, which is a 32:9, basically two 1080p monitors glued together, 48 to 144 hertz, HDR, all the bells and whistles kind of monitor. Yes, you will have to pay a little bit more, but you get what you pay for. It matches the value that you.
So let's talk about those other kind of changes, like the progress, right?
Well, one of the big news items a couple of months ago that I had the privilege to be on Major Nelson's
you were on a stream with Microsoft there. That's where you got famous, I think, for the first time.
I'm very famous. Yeah. We got to announce this collaboration with Microsoft that they have adopted FreeSync.
Yeah.
So the entire Xbox One family supports FreeSync. One S,
the
One
base
X.
and the S,
base S and the X.
Okay.
There's some different level of support. Obviously, the One S and One X can do HDR as well.
Right.
And they have some extra resolutions, I think, exposed. But all three consoles do support FreeSync.
Okay.
So that was an exciting thing.
And they support FreeSync. They don't just support adaptive sync.
Correct.
Right? Like they call it that when they discuss it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they are the first device outside the PC ecosystem that have adopted this. So I'm personally very thrilled.
Yeah.
With that collaboration. I think it also kind of gave a nudge to the other piece, which was the Samsung TVs that we announced a couple of weeks ago. 21 models now in Samsung's 2018 QLED lineup.
21 models that span models and then sizes, of those models. Right, got it. Yeah, so that was also pushed. And what's interesting to me is if you look back to the days when AMD was talking about, hey, we're going to be in the Xbox, we're going to be in the PlayStations, and we had this thought of, okay, here's all the things that could happen once AMD is involved in this. There's an AMD GPU in here. Technically the GPU can support FreeSync, right? Will Microsoft go through the effort of doing it? And now we finally see an instance of that happening.
Yep.
I know one of the questions we're going to get is, are we going to see other consoles that use AMD semi-custom hardware, maybe adapt support for?
I might as well leave my badge on the table here if I started talking about semi-custom, so I can't really.
No answer on whether or not Sony will ever add that in there. Okay. Okay. All right. Before we go any further, I guess we should take a second here and let's go ahead and tell you guys where you can win some of this hardware.
Yeah, so they have to go to www.amd.com.
I don't think we have to say that anymore.
amd.com/FreeSync.
No. Don't listen to him. It's actually pcper.com/FreeSync.
You didn't tell me this.
I know, it's a secret.
Oh, damn it.
amd.com/FreeSync. And if you go there, you will find the Gleam widget, which will point people to go to amd.com/FreeSync.
See, I'm so uneducated.
And that way they get credit for going to it, learning what they're going to learn about it, and then that gets the entry for it. The entries will be open. I think it's listed until like 6 p.m. Eastern. That way everybody who either watches the replay immediately afterwards, or if the Gleam system kind of bottlenecks or something like that, there's time for you to get in there.
Did we tell them what they can win?
We did, but I can tell them again if you'd like.
I guess it's good to.
Let me go to pcper.com/free.
Well, that I know from the top of my head.
So we'll have one winner. We have two winners out of this. One of you will win a Pixio PX277 display, FreeSync display, obviously.
1440p, 144 hertz, IPS.
Yep. And then the grand prize is an Asus display, the ROG Strix XG32VQ, which is a 31.5-inch curved 1440p, 144 hertz display.
Yep.
And to power that monitor, we're also going to give you, or Asus and AMD are going to give you an ROG Strix Vega 64 graphics card as well.
It's a really good pairing for that monitor.
Yeah, I guess so. That's pretty awesome. Yeah, so you can win a Vega 64 and a monitor, and again, pcper.com/FreeSync. and it'll give you all the details there on.
But you can also go to amd.com/FreeSync.
I mean, you can go there. You can go there at any point for any reason.
That will not enter you in any competition, but you should still go there.
That's fair. Okay, you got your plug in. All right, so now we're
fine.
All right. So
what else do we have here?
What else do we have here?
Yeah, I think we talked about this.
Yeah,
it is the largest ecosystem, and we have great partners.
So these are all the companies that make monitors.
Yeah,
that have FreeSync support in them.
Yeah. So this doesn't show the TV.
I guess it has Intel
this
on there. There you go.
This one has the TV on there. So one of 21 models, people can choose. It runs at 1080p, runs at 4K, runs with HDR. So yeah, whether you're on desktop, whether you're on laptop, whether you're on TV monitor, FreeSync is there for you to get rid of tearing and stuttering.
Okay, that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
All right, what else?
What else? I guess we should talk a little bit about FreeSync 2.
Yep. It comes after FreeSync 1 as far as my...
Yeah, if there was a FreeSync 1, it would, but...
It's like the original Xbox. Is it the Xbox One? Well, not anymore. It can't be. Was it the original FreeSync 1? Are you after this, are you gonna come out with FreeSync 1 ONE?
Sure.
No?
No, I don't think so.
I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that either.
Yeah. So one feedback that we got from partners and gamers and end users was that they weren't completely clear on what FreeSync 2 stands for.
I think that's very fair. Please tell me what FreeSync 2 is.
FreeSync 2 is, if you want the very short one-liner, it's basically variable refresh, which is FreeSync, plus HDR content. Now there's a few other bits and pieces to it, but that's the crux of it.
Okay.
And so some news here on the live stream. That we're going to
earth-shattering right here, breaking.
Get ready for this. We're tweaking the branding a little bit of FreeSync 2. So to point people in the right direction, to give them some sense, okay, what does FreeSync 2 stand for? We're adding the nomen HDR to it. So it's going to be called FreeSync 2 HDR. So the hope is that at least the name will, as I said, point them in the right direction. Okay, what is FreeSync 2? Well, it's what you got used to with FreeSync, which is tear and stutter-free gaming, plus HDR content consumption, basically.
But there's more on that specific side.
There's a little bit more on that. We have never publicly stated a specification list for FreeSync 2.
Which I will freely admit was confusing, not just to like the general public, but to those of us who try to cover this as in-depth as possible.
So what we're saying today is that in terms of the HDR specifications that FreeSync 2 monitors, FreeSync 2 HDR monitors have to hit, we're aligning or we're discussing that it is basically what VESA's Display HDR 600 specification stands for.
Okay.
So that should also give an idea to people when they purchase a FreeSync 2 HDR monitor, what sort of specifications should they expect of that display in terms of its HDR capabilities.
Right.
Now,
the FreeSync capabilities change a little bit with FreeSync 2 HDR as well, though.
There are
minimums.
Stuff that was optional in FreeSync, like low frame rate compensation, which, by the way, means that your top refresh is going to be at least 2.5x of the bottom refresh. Okay. That allows low frame rate compensation to work below the bottom refresh rate. That is mandatory in FreeSync 2 HDR.
Okay, good.
So while there are quite a few monitors, FreeSync, some people say vanilla FreeSync monitors out there that already have LFC. It's an optional thing. Display vendors can choose to implement that. But FreeSync 2 FreeSync 2 HDR makes it mandatory.
Good.
Yeah.
I think that's a positive.
There are some other requirements. I can't go into much detail as to what those are. But
like latency is one of them.
Yes.
You say that publicly. You know, you don't go into detail on
how many milliseconds
what that actually means. So let me ask you this. Why don't you talk more openly about what that requiriement is? Now, to be fair, your competition doesn't really either. But I'm curious why.
I think certification and verification and those things should stay in-house. We'll discuss those with the display vendors under NDA. They're the ones that really need to know about it. I think what the public needs to know is that those experiences that are promised are guaranteed to be certified when they come off the factory lines.
Okay.
So just because, one caveat here, just because a monitor has a Display HDR 600 logo on it,
Right.
that does not mean that the monitor becomes FreeSync to HDR.
It may not have VRR support on it at all.
At all. But
Right.
even if it does, they still have to submit to us to certify the monitor for FreeSync to HDR. So we're not changing the program at all.
Okay.
All we're doing is clarifying what it stands for with this brand change, and also saying that, yeah, as far as the HDR piece is concerned, it's what the Display HDR 600 stands for.
Right. I think that tying it to the HDR standard, the Display HDR 600 standard, is a good move, right? Because I would say you guys first announced FreeSync 2 at CES, right? Like, was it CES like 2017?
Sorry, FreeSync 2?
FreeSync 2.
Yes, 2017.
Yeah. And it was about HDR, and it was about combining HDR with FreeSync, but we never really got any clarification. It was, a little bit nebulous about what the color gamut was or what the brightness ranges were, and this kind of solidifies it. Now, was there any? So, Display HDR 600 is one of 3 standards from that group. There's 400, 600, and 1000.
Yeah.
Why the decision to go with 600 and not 400 or 1000?
I think as display technologies mature, obviously we will want all monitors to be as high brightness, as high contrast ratio, as widest color gamut support as possible.
Yeah.
But it's hard to get there, especially when you combine it with variable refresh rate. It's hard to meet all the criteria, right? And I believe that first we always want to work with industry standards. That's how FreeSync was invented. It's based on VESA's adaptive sync, and we said this at CES this year that we're going to support VRR as well when source devices, HDMI VRR, when
HDMI 2.1.
2.1 VRR, yep.
Okay.
When the source devices become available. But we really wanted to jumpstart HDR, PC HDR development. We see HDR for PC gaming as that next big stepping stone. I know that there's this crazy race for higher resolutions. I think that race is kind of on a good path. We're seeing more and more high resolution monitors.
Yeah.
We're seeing the refresh rate also getting up there with most gaming displays that most vendors are launching these days have high refresh. That's really good to see. The one piece that is that we now need to focus on is HDR, is the pixel quality, and we are working very closely with game developers and working closely with display vendors to accelerate this process.
Yeah.
I'm a big believer in HDR. I have an HDR display at home, and I love those games that port over that HDR infrastructure from the console world. Most console titles, for them it's a no-brainer to have HDR because they have an established ecosystem. It's pretty easy to
There are a lot more
work in
HDR
that.
TVs than there are displays.
So
today.
the PC monitor industry, I think, is catching up to it.
Yeah.
But I think we're going to get there, and obviously we want 1,000 nits displays all over the place. But we know from the industry how many of those monitors out there. It's not an easy thing to do. So we didn't want to wait until everything is going to be 1,000 nits. I think you can have an amazing HDR PC experience even on a 600 nit display.
Okay.
Yeah. That doesn't mean that there are not going to be 1,000 nit FreeSync to HDR monitors.
Okay. Yeah. That's going to be the questions we see.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
As the manufacturing process and the display tech is becoming more advanced, you're going to see those displays.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I think that the tracking with the standard makes sense. It now makes it possible for us in the media to track not only like what experience we should expect to see out of these displays, but if you're meeting that, right? If these displays are meeting it.
Yeah.
As part of your FreeSync 2 HDR certification, do you validate the variable refresh support, the LFC support, the latency support? Do you also validate the color side, or do you say, hey, if you've got the Display HDR 600, we're good with that because that's their whole job?
FreeSync to HDR, I think the certification does not change. So we are still doing all our testing regardless.
Yeah.
It's just an external I guess, communique, if you like, for people to understand what it's aiming for.
Okay.
As a minimum bar.
Yeah, and I agree that, having seen the HDR displays that I've seen to this point, I do think it is much like variable refresh, one of those things that once you see it and you see it working well and you see it with the right content,
It's an important, because not everybody gets HDR right on the developer side.
And the problem is, to be perfectly frank, the first HDR monitors that we got in here, not this was 6-8 months ago, the ones that just were trying to get that name out there, they were bad experiences. And Windows didn't have the best support for it, and the games didn't have very good support for it, and it was a bad experience.
Yeah.
And I would not have recommended that to people. Yeah. So getting the displays out, having Windows add in its HDR mode into the display settings.
Now with the latest,
not perfect still, but a lot better.
Now you can at least adjust the brightness if you're viewing SDR content on your desktop. You can basically bring it up to the same brightness as it was before.
Yeah, and I think we were talking earlier, there's a bug in Chrome that is fixed in the latest Chromium release, but needs to be pushed out where
to the main line,
everything is dim in that.
Yeah.
And so we're working through it, much in the way we worked through everything.
I think the ecosystem is rallying around it. It's not like, oh, we're done now. It's really, I think all the players, display vendors, software vendors, us, all the players are pushing it hard because they know this is going to be one tech that is going to here to stay.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
All right, what else we got?
Well, we got a little bit of new stuff. What's next?
Yeah, we're up. So I'm curious, so before we finish the FreeSync 2 HDR discussion then, are there any other, we have a Q&A section. If you guys have questions, you can leave them in the comments section to the post that we announced this live stream with, or you can leave them in the chat. I'm trying to pay attention to some of that while I'm in here as well and copy and paste it into a document. So let us know those questions. We'll have that Q&A session at the end. But are there any other kind of changes? Can we talk anything about hey, how many displays do we expect to see with HDR, FreeSync 2 HDR by the end of this year, or is this a next year push? When do we really get into it?
I think we're pushing all, the push doesn't really change. We have announced a new one a couple of weeks ago, the BenQ EX. The exact model number escapes me, but it's going to be a similar. The physical dimensions and its properties are very similar to what Samsung has announced with the CHG70.
Okay.
It's a 32-inch 1440p 144 hertz HDR monitor.
And it will be a FreeSync 2 HDR.
It should be already shipping now.
Okay. And that's a FreeSync 2 HDR.
Correct.
So it will have display, HDR 600.
Well, I don't know if they certified it with VESA.
Okay.
These are completely separate certification processes, right?
But if you've certified it as FreeSync 2 HDR,
it's likely that if they submitted it for display HDR 600, they would qualify for that.
Got it. Okay. All right. So that's kind of the big one right on the horizon for you there. Okay. And we've got the TVs. I will tell everybody on the stream, we got in, what's the TV we had? The Q6F?
It's a Q6F, yep. It's a 65
Just got it in yesterday. I haven't really had a chance to mess around with it yet, but this is an HDR FreeSync.
So it works at
TV.
1080p at 48 to 120 hertz.
Yeah.
4K, 48 to 60 hertz.
Yep.
So has got a pretty good
Looking
coverage.
forward to trying it. I will say, having set it up on this table beforehand, standing 8 inches away from it while you're trying to go to, not ideal. You need to be a little bit
8-inch consumption. No.
You need to be a little bit further back than that.
Sit back in the sofa and use a controller.
I wonder for gaming if it would be neat, but I can tell you for certain for Windows environments, not ideal. Not ideal to be that close.
Fair enough.
So let's talk about the other thing that you're here to show us.
Yeah, so we've been working and still are working on a demo for FreeSync. It is built in Unreal Engine 4.
A public-facing demo, not something that we get just for testing purposes, but something that you can...
The original inception for the demo was to, as we talked about in the beginning of the show, is to show people what FreeSync is. When you walk into a store, if there's a gaming corner in a store, you could set this demo up on a side-by-side system. One is off, FreeSync off, one is FreeSync on.
Got it.
Not only that, but it also will have HDR support. so you'll be able to show people what HDR is. To me, FreeSync to HDR is about showing people what HDR gaming can really do. What does the extra color gamut really bring you? You can see those extra details even in darker scenes that you weren't able to do before. So these things, when I say these, they don't mean anything. But when you show people, it's like, okay. I guess I kind of saw that on Netflix, or I saw that on a Blu-ray. That's cool. But now I can have it in gaming. That's also really cool. So that's what the demo is built for. But
okay.
But we're going to release this demo publicly. Anybody can download it.
Okay.
And the demo will actually scale very nicely from a Ryzen plus Vega CPU plus integrated GPU, all the way to the highest end GPU. Obviously, don't expect 200 frames per second from the APU, but it will be in the FreeSync range of the monitors that it should be paired with.
Right.
So it will sweep across a large range of refresh rates.
Okay.
So today, for the very first time, PC Perspective
World
live stream,
exclusive.
Do we have the lower thing?
we have the breaking news thing, like CNN. They put it up every 15 minutes, regardless of what they're talking about. So I think we can probably do it now.
But this is really breaking.
Okay, all right.
But for the first time, PC Perspective viewers can look at this demo, how it's going to look like. It's not ready yet, so it's kind of an alpha beta stage. So if I alt-tab here, we should be able to show a little bit of it. It's going to have an FPS counter. Obviously, we have tried to limit it at 60, so we don't see.
That's just so we don't see tearing on the live stream. Yeah, we're running this on an Asus, actually the ROG Strix Vega 64 graphics card. Not the exact one we're giving away, but the same card. Move that cursor out of the way. It's gonna bug a lot of people. There you go.
Which way?
There you go.
So you will be able to switch FreeSync on and off. You will be able to switch HDR on and off. In fact, this demo has HDR implemented, but it's useless on the stream to show because it will just look
the monitors
really
that we're capturing it on aren't HDR. The cameras aren't HDR. The stream we're sending is HDR. Yeah.
So,
but I can tell, having seen enough HDR content now, that it's like this part right here. We're going to go through a dark cave with a very bright spot through it.
And so when HDR is on, you'll be able to see those extra details that otherwise you wouldn't see.
So what's the... So I can see up in the top left corner, you got FreeSync 2. It's turned off right now.
Yeah.
Again, we're not on a VRR kind of configuration here. HDR, same. The purpose is to show both, high quality rendering, proper HDR implementation.
Yeah.
Variable refresh
people probably have seen our validation tool before when we launched FreeSync. Some of them remember as the windmill demo,
I'm very familiar.
Is less of a demo. It's more of a validation tool. It's not very flashy.
No.
But so they serve different purposes. The windmill demo was really good at showing tearing when you move the rotors around.
Yeah.
And when you switch FreeSync on, it was suddenly gone. This demo, while it will serve that purpose too, but it's also more of a front-facing thing that our display vendors, our partners, anybody can use to showcase.
I think a lot of people in the community use 3D Mark for this.
Right. So, and I would love end users and gamers to use this. Just fire it up on their FreeSync monitor or on their HDR display and see, mine works. It really is. That's
true.
It really is the stuff that I
having
bought.
tested a lot of HDR content in the last week or so, the proper support varies dramatically across these different games, right?
Yeah.
So it's pretty neat. What I would also ask for is the ability to set specific frame rates. Are we going to be able to have that?
Yes, you will have a slider for that.
And then we're just letting it win
we're not in a video. I can actually pause this and then look around.
There you go.
So it's not a video. It's not fake.
Right.
It's really running.
That's cool. And any time frame for that?
Hopefully during the summer, but I don't want to promise anything because I want to get it right. I don't want to release something that is not up to par, up to spec. So hopefully within the summer.
All right. Well, let's get into some questions that I've been kind of coalescing during.
Is this the part when I say bye?
No, yeah, that was part of the deal. If you're going to come on the set, you got to answer some questions. Reminder for those of you that maybe tuned in late: if you go to pcper.com/free-FreeSync, pcper.com/free-FreeSync.
Is free-FreeSync one word?
Free-FreeSync, all one word. You can capitalize any letters you want. As it turned out, I did test to make sure. Yeah. Free-FreeSync. Then you can enter for your chance to win an RX, a Vega 64 from Asus with an Asus. I can't remember the exact model number.
The monitor?
The monitor.
XG32VQ.
There you go. Monitors are hard. It's like motherboards are hard for me.
Ryan, get your letters and numbers right.
I know, it's very difficult. And then we also have the Pixio PX277 monitor, which is a 25 by 14, 144 hertz FreeSync IPS panel as well.
I know lots of enthusiasts want IPS.
They do.
It's something that a lot of people are looking for. Yeah.
All right, so let's go through some of these questions. Let's see what has popped up here.
I'll try to answer all of them. I can't
Every
promise, question
you must answer.
I can't promise that I'm allowed to answer.
So this question came up a few times in some derivative thereof. So a lot of this is based on kind of the perceived lack of momentum. Actually, go ahead and switch back to the slides here because it's going to blow out our camera shot. There you go. That's fine. The perceived momentum of FreeSync 2 before it was called HDR, not being there. It was announced, more than a year ago, but there were only like 3 FreeSync 2 monitors that really came out. What was the holdup? Why not the momentum that you saw?
I don't think there's a holdup. I think the strategy with FreeSync 2 HDR was focusing on making sure that it's the best of the best quality panels that qualify for FreeSync 2.
Okay.
And I think we talked about this before, is that it's not easy. All these things to get right, that is on that spec sheet that we discuss with the vendors under NDA, it's not easy to get all of those things right. But again, as the display technologies go forward and advance, there's going to be more.
Yeah.
So there are four monitors now: the CHG70 in 2 sizes, the CHG90, and the MenQ1 that is available now. And I fully expect more. I can tell you that there are several in the queue, but I can't pre-announce for them. I can't say the vendors because obviously it's NDA. So,
I would say from my perspective, it would appear that both AMD and NVIDIA were a bit early to announce these technologies. I mean, we saw G-Sync HDR 2 CESs ago. We saw FreeSync 2 announced 2 CESs ago, and we really didn't see any.
To be fair, after the FreeSync 2 announcement was made, within 6 months, the Samsung monitors launched. In the summer, I think May timeframe. So 5 months after the announcement, they.
But I would argue that they weren't the best options out there, and that they probably wouldn't meet Display HDR 600 certification.
I think they went for the certification later.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, in my view, I think both parties kind of went a little bit early. They wanted to get some excitement built up, and then it almost appeared to me from the outside of like, oh, as it turns out, this was harder than we thought it was going to be, and so it took a little bit more time to get to the good displays that we're going to start seeing.
Well, I mean, everybody, to be clear, everybody in the ecosystem was clear on how hard it was. Again, I think you've got to start somewhere. You have to push that tech, and we really believe that HDR should become one of those.
Agree.
Just a check mark, because right now it's hard, but I just want it to be a check mark. It's like, of course, it supports HDR.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I think we'll get there. But
we'll get there.
But I do think it was and maybe not even FreeSync related. There were a lot of monitors that came out that had HDR listed on them, and we're like, no, these are bad. These are bad experiences.
I mean, in all fairness, yes, you always have to be careful when you introduce a tech. You want the first impression to be great. We're working towards making it really like a no-brainer.
Yeah.
That's where we're headed to.
Okay. Let's see. Next question in. This is from Hype Train, who asks.
Hype Train.
Please ask. And this is kind of I think there's a lot of perception of this.
So we don't have to answer. It's just.
Please ask them why the FreeSync frequency ranges on most models are disappointing in both low and high side compared to G-Sync.
Okay. So we talked about strategy, and when we went ahead with FreeSync a couple of years ago, we wanted rapid and wide adoption of variable refresh based on an industry standard. To achieve that, we took an approach where we didn't necessarily tell people, as we're telling with FreeSync 2 HDR, it's like you have to have a 2.5x difference between top and bottom refresh.
Right.
Actually, a lot of the first FreeSync monitors that came out weren't in gaming lineups of display vendors. Now most of them are, and actually most new FreeSync displays that launch these days are all LFC, because it's right now it's pretty easy to select the T-cons and the controllers in order to make sure that wide range is available. So there's no shortage of displays out there with FreeSync that are LFC capable. So whether you're looking for 1080p, 1440p, you're going to find those monitors plenty of from multiple vendors.
So would the argument that I'm kind of hearing, the answer I'm hearing is that because there are options on the FreeSync side, there are ones that have wider ranges that support LFC that therefore kind of give you the perception of unlimited range, and there are those that don't. But some people might just perceive that, oh, they're all kind of on that other side.
If you look on the market, you are able to find 48 to 75 hertz monitors.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
But you're also able to find at least as many, if not 2 or 3 times as many of those displays that are 40 to 100 or 48 to 144 or 30 to 100, something like that.
Cosmic Vibes asks when we're going to see OLED displays, FreeSync OLED displays.
I think I saw that question. It said, "Is that a thing?"
Is that a thing, and when? Yes, correct.
I can't say that it's not a thing.
Okay. Can't say that it's not a thing. All right.
Again, it's one of those things where I can't really say much because I can't promise that it's coming or it's being worked on.
Okay.
It's not a thing.
All right. It's not a thing.
It's not a thing.
What about Carlo asks, for FreeSync 1 or 2, doesn't matter, can movie players in full screen or borderless windowed mode use FreeSync to match video frame rate?
Yes. In fact, the Movies and TV app inside Windows that ships with it fully supports FreeSync. So your, let's say, 24 frame per second movie will, let's say, in case of a 48 to 144 hertz panel, will go to 48 hertz and just
frame double
beautifully even out.
So it's application specific.
Yep, it's app specific. I've seen YouTube work in Edge, but I've seen it work in Chrome as well. Okay. So some of the YouTube videos that I've seen, when you press full screen on the player, it does lower the refresh rate.
Is there any way to know?
For those monitors that have those built-in frame counters, Acer and Asus have those.
Okay.
Even the Samsung displays, if you go into the information OSD, you can actually see the frame rate, the refresh rate change.
Okay.
Real time. Yeah.
So I've had several people ask, and there's probably one sitting behind the desk here, about when you're going to add Linux support.
Who's that?
No, nobody over there. What's the Linux support look like for this stuff?
I don't think. Let me get back to you on that.
Yeah.
Because I know the answer, but I don't know if we are committed to it. Terry McAdon will have my badge. If I start talking.
Terry comes here, he talks everything all the time. Yeah. He'd be totally fine with it. Right, Terry? Right. He'll send me a text in a second. He'll give me the answer.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
Terry, if you're watching, send me the answer.
Please send him the text. Yes.
Send me a text with the answer. I'll answer it. We don't have to get on call.
I'm not old enough to answer this question.
Let's see. XBNPC asks, if Samsung's QLED TVs are getting a software update to enable FreeSync, will other TV manufacturers be doing so for other TV sets that are sitting in consumers' homes today? And if so, when? He'd love to see FreeSync tech added as a feature for a software update for free to his, quote, old Vizio M65. Can it be done?
Well, Samsung did it, right? Those displays that when we announced, or when they have announced that they support FreeSync, those displays have been actually in the market for a couple of months by that time. So Can it happen? Absolutely. Can I confirm that it's happening? I can't, unfortunately.
To me, it seems
But
like
absolutely possible.
if Microsoft's supporting it in a console, they probably wouldn't do it. They wouldn't do it if it was only going to be monitors that supported it, PC monitors, and they wouldn't do it probably even if only one TV manufacturer that they thought of was going to do that.
True. Yeah.
Right. That would be my assumption, and that's not him. It's just me. I just like Microsoft's not going to go through with this if they don't think they can either push the initiative to these the TV vendors and/or that it was something they were on the path of already and they wanted to jump in with. Let's see. There's a question about whether or not the Xbox One will be able to generate higher than 60 frames per second. It's probably not a question that you even want to. Can you please tell me all the plans about? No. Okay.
These questions are great.
Another like.
I want one that I can
Talps on
answer.
Reddit wants to know if FreeSync will expand to PlayStation, Nintendo, all these other types of things. Again,
Nintendo?
yeah. I mean, hey,
We're not in the latest.
I know.
I can't.
All right.
Unfortunately.
What about this? Here's one. Mark Campbell wants to know how similar is HDMI 2.1's VRR spec to AMD FreeSync?
They are similar. I mean, full disclosure, I'm not an engineer, so even if you asked about code, I wouldn't be able to describe that. Nor would we want to. I think in end users' eyes, it's going to do almost the same thing.
Yeah.
It's they have similar ranges, similar specifications, but beyond that, I actually can't speak to it because I didn't work on the spec. I don't do driver code. So
I didn't get a text from Terry, but I got one from Kyle Bennett. He says it's fine. You can answer the question. If you want
of
to
course.
answer it. No?
Hey, Kyle.
Still want to answer? No, all right.
I'll call you later.
We'll still wait. We've answered the question about the 1,000 nits. There was a question from Nebulous about when are you going to see FreeSync with 1,000 nits, and your answer is basically when the panel tech is there.
Yeah, we're going to get there. We just don't want to do it for $2,000.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, or if you do, you want to have the cheaper options at $600, right?
Sure.
You know.
Yeah.
I can see that.
It's always the 1% of the 1%. And I believe that it should be all gamers.
They drive it, right?
They drive it
the
for
PC enthusiast gamers are there.
with the large wallets.
But if we don't ask for, as Zealot asks in the chat, like when do I get my FreeSync 2 4K 144 hertz DC3? Like that's what the one they want. That's going to be their 5-year monitor or whatever it's going to be, right? It's our demanding for that pushes down the price of everything else and drives adoption of all that. So I see the value there.
We'll get there.
Question from Theo Drim says, does FreeSync 2 improve input latency when you're outside of the FreeSync range?
When you're outside, above, below?
It says outside, so I'm guessing
outside.
A little bit of both. My follow-up to that would be, does FreeSync improve input latency on TV integration of FreeSync?
I think when we certify these displays, there are input latency requirements that I guess we talk to them about.
Yeah.
Because I can't really talk to the validation piece or the certification process. That's another question where I was. Let me go back and see if we can release that info.
Okay. A question from me is.
For you?
From me.
Oh, from you.
I just wrote it down on my list here so I'd remember it.
Why didn't you ask it before?
I'm
kidding. It's your show, man. Whatever.
How do you as AMD help these partners of yours that are making these TVs, making these monitors, that maybe don't have the enthusiast vocabulary, they don't know how to set things up in a way that makes sense? Basically, when I go into my Samsung TV, which I have done, and I have to permeate through like 3 menus to get to a setting where it says FreeSync Ultimate or Standard, and there's no description of what either of those things mean. What portion of the responsibility falls on you to either educate the community about what your partners are doing to enable that tech, and/or educating your partners to say, hey, this is how you need to talk about it? Like,
so legally and contractually, whatever you want to call it, there's no requirement other than, yeah, let's call out FreeSync.
Okay.
I think it's a task that I recognize that we have to take on ourselves, is to work with these vendors, is to simplify to get to that option, simplify the description, and highlight the description, because it's a really kick-ass feature.
Right.
For a gaming device, it should be front and center. So that's actually on me and on the entire marketing team to drive this with these display vendors and make it more front and center. Mm-hmm. So I will agree that there's a lot of work to do on that front.
Okay. EC Nick wanted to know if the FreeSync 2 variable refresh rates have changed at all. And I assume the answer is no.
FreeSync variable refresh rates have
just the
changed
ranges.
Of what the GPU can actually support?
No, I think with FreeSync 2, has the variable refresh range changed at all? I think the answer to this is no. But LFC is required.
Yeah, it's just the difference between top and bottom is that we require to be there.
Not in theory, but in practice, every FreeSync 2 HDR display should have no bottom VRR limit. Like the panel might, but because of LFC, it is effectively not a bottom frame rate limit.
below the official number, you still enjoy benefits.
Okay.
Of Terrence.
This is an interesting question from Woot Doctor, who wants to know, what's the best place to see a FreeSync and/or HDR demo?
Physically?
Yeah. Well, that's the only way you can do it. So yeah.
Oh, you mean in store?
Yeah, he wants to know, like, hey, where can I go see this stuff?
This is a tough one, and I'm working hard with all the teams to make this real. Is that to have some gaming corners in retail stores?
Yeah.
Right now, I don't think there are gaming devices being put on end caps and special places where people would see them, but there's no concentrated effort of, okay, let's show off all the gaming tech in this little mini booth or this desk, whatever you want to call it. But now there's a great opportunity with retail stores selling Xbox Ones, retail stores selling TVs, monitors, PCs. Mm-hmm. All of the components are already there. Yeah. So we just got to work with them and figure out a way how to showcase them. So stay tuned. Woot Doctor, stay tuned. If I have my way, we're going to make this happen soon.
All right, let's see. Maybe a couple of more here. All right, last one comes in from a frequenter in our chat, XMass, asks, if AMD keeps developing technology, then giving it away for free while competitors keep work proprietary, how do you deal with that? Like, what's your viewpoint on that?
I'm not sure what's implicated. Is that we're losing money because we are not monetizing, or?
That's probably part of it, but also, I think at the beginning we talked about pros and cons of the closed system versus the open system, and you might have a different opinion than I do, but I believe that there are pros and cons to both.
Well, to clarify,
fundamentally,
it's not the FreeSync is not necessarily open. I think people interchangeably use open standard versus industry standard.
Okay.
FreeSync is based on industry standard. It's not necessarily open, whereas everybody can contribute and then something happens, right? That said, I would say that the strategy was clear, is adoption, wide and rapid adoption. And the only way to do that was to not restrict vendors from what they can do with their products, and also make the certification process easy and painless.
Right.
And that's what it is still today.
When you say easy, you don't mean low thresholds. You mean easy for the vendors to.
Yes, there's an easy spec sheet that they need to read and adhere to.
Okay.
And then we certify it for them, and then they're off to the races.
Okay.
Now on the marketing side, I think we're going to work with them closer, to make sure that when they display their products on their websites or any other material, that they have the right messages, they use the right images or videos or logos. So we still have some work to do there.
All right, I think that's going to wrap it up for us, guys.
Okay.
PCPro.com/free-FreeSync. PCPro.com/free-FreeSync. You've got a little bit more time to enter in for that contest, and we'll give away a FreeSync monitor, as well as a FreeSync monitor and an Asus Vega 64 graphics card combo.
If you don't have a FreeSync display today, go go out and buy one now.
Well, make sure you don't win the contest and then go out and buy one.
Either that or go out and buy one.
Or buy one with a good return policy. Buy one at a place that's got a good return policy.
Why would they need to return it?
You could have two. I'm saying if they win the contest.
And well, most gamers have two displays.
Well, all right, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for joining us. We do appreciate it. Thanks for the questions and for hanging out.
Thank you for having me here.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming. If you guys liked this, make sure you thank @Radeon on Twitter or what is it? Just on Tumblr.
Yeah.
On Twitter as well for joining us. You know, we do these things and we let these guys come and they present a couple of slides and they talk through it. But the whole goal here is to educate people and help them make the best choices for their money, right?
Yeah,
People work hard. If you're going to spend $500 on a video card or on a display, you should make a decision that you feel is right.
Yeah, and if enthusiasts and gamers on this stream can help us spread the word amongst their constituencies, their friends, please do so. Please.
Where would you send people to learn more about this technology?
AMD.com/FreeSync, and check out our YouTube channel as well, because there are quite a few videos that we have uploaded recently about FreeSync.
And I encourage you guys to go to PCPro.com. Check that out. If you liked this stream, we do more of them. So PCPro.com/subscribe is the place where you can sign up for a mailing list where we send you notification whenever we're going to host some, special events. I'll use in quotes because Antal is special. You're a special event for us, so I really appreciate it.
I can only imagine.
I'm sorry, Terry never texted me before the end of the stream, so we'll just have to bug him later, guys. So that's it for us. Thanks for hanging out. Make sure you sign up for the contest, and we'll see you next time, everyone. Thanks.
Take care.